Hey YouTube, JGreen302. Wasn't planning on making a video, but I remember about 2 days ago, I believe it was Doris Sheridan, had posted or sent an email or something saying, hey, when are you going to make another video? And I wasn't even thinking about making videos. Been too busy, and it just sat in the back of my head. And it bugged me. It was like, somebody actually is asking, when are you going to make another video? And I'm like, I don't know. I just said, well, I'll sit down and see if I can fire it up. As you can see, the angle's different. You're more looking at the top of my hat. I couldn't find cables for the microphone. I'm not sure how well this is going to come out. And I have no script. But since Doris asked, I figured I would do it. So I went back and I looked at my last video about 11 months ago. Man, does time fly. And the last question that Doris asked me was, a difference between apartment versus a house. And I figured if there's something I could probably talk about intelligently, I could probably address that, because I am now at month 13 in my wonderful paint stain still on the hardwood floor, messy office house that is now my own. I could probably talk about that. So, Doris, I'm going to answer your question. This video is for you. So, kind of getting ready when you're renting versus a house. Well, I'm sitting in the definition of the answer to that question, Doris. And it sounds like this. I've spent most of my life either renting an apartment or a house. I'm not going to get into the long, sordid stories, but when you have a rented location, you have no control. And this is kind of where this all happened. There is no ability to modify, to make changes, to make investments, because it's a short term, it is not yours. So 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I realized that I need to basically start looking at setting up more from an economic standpoint of my own personal economy, if you will. Renting is throwing money out the door, and it's not helping me. And then moving stuff from location to location is ridiculous. So one day I kind of sat down and I started doing my homework. I started doing research. I sat down and I spent months calculating what was the maximum amount of the loan that I wanted, not what I could qualify for. What did I want that payment to be? What were the requirements that I was looking for? I had to, on paper and math, crunch out numbers for something that I don't have a visual image for to go look for. When this place showed up, it only took about 5 or 6 minutes to realize that the numbers might work. It had most of it, and everything was a compromise. And basically, I bought it. We're 13 months past the signing date, and I just requested them to drop the PMI because I've got about 28% equity in the place, and it basically stems from the fact that I bought the place with nothing in the kitchen. It was a bare room. Most people avoided the house in general because FHA isn't going to finance that, but they weren't smart enough to realize that with a 10K, 203K rider on it, they could. And because the house appraised for much more with a kitchen, this is how I could pretty much buy a house with no money down, and within a year say, hey, it's time for you to drop the PMI. The differences are like the difference between throwing a bullet and shooting a bullet, Doris. It really is. The things that I'm focused on and have been for the last year, aside from getting the kitchen installed, would be things like energy efficiency. Making the house cost me as little as possible and investing in that. So investing in the garage, investing in LED lighting throughout the house, insulation, improving the windows, I learned HVAC just to do the maintenance on my own heating and air conditioning, and it also helps me in the automotive section when I'm doing heating and air conditioning in the vehicles. This house came with a garage. I have mechanical knowledge. For the first time and ever, I now have immediate access to that garage, and vehicle maintenance has been a priority for the last year. The truck that I bought, along with the trailer that moved everything here, pretty much got oil changes and maybe some shocks, and that was about the best I could do in a rented location. Now, whole different story. That truck has almost been half restored. It is one of the most well-maintained 1994 trucks you will ever find. I've invested in the garage as a secondary source of income. I'm looking at replacing the roof on it in the next couple of months. I've actually been working on the plannings for that. Put in a home security system, top of the line gear, 1080p cameras, setting up for security, setting up for energy efficiency, laying out places where I can store things. 3 and 4 years ago, I had purchased stocks and supplies, and I'm finding out that a lot of products don't withstand the test of time for storage like you would think. And most of the stuff that I had stored was kept in 65, 70 degree temperature with no fluctuations year-round. Still, the stuff went bad. I'm making notes on that. I'll probably talk about that in another video if I make another one. It's been a hard year. It's been financially difficult because paint, materials, caulk, and everything else costs money, on top of putting a kitchen in and everything else. The investments are designed, and some of the things that I'm working on are generator bypass and looking at the circuits for the house. I've got generators, but I can't turn the generators to start to service the house if something happened yet. Still working on some of the details. I got the solar stuff up on the garage. I've got it charging batteries, but things came up like some of these meters, if you pour energy back into your house, it runs the meter as if you're using the electric, not as if you are spinning it backwards. 100 things. But when it all comes down to it, the point of getting the house was to get a fixed location. I'm not moving my stuff from location to location every couple of years. I have the ability to adjust to suit my needs, to my standards, which is a huge benefit. Getting to know your neighbors. One of the things that I did is I noticed that at the local pizza place, which we spent a lot of time at because we had no kitchen, and right in the back is this great big 5-mile diameter of this area for the pizza delivery guys. So I went and got one. I got it up on the wall, and now I follow police and crime reports, and I'm using like grease markers to note where are the crime areas, where are the problem spots. I'm in a new location. I don't know the land. I don't know the circumstances. I don't know the communities and everything that I used to know. Things have changed since I've been in this area. So I'm getting a reference point. I'm trying to find out, how the local police and fire department responds. We just had, for time stamping, the Delaware prison just got overtaken. I turned on the police and radio. Not a word could be heard about what was going on. Everything's locked down. Everything's trunking channels. So I'm kind of finding out what I can and can't do. I'm finding out how well some of my supplies are holding up. All of these things are a combination of, when I do it, I might invest some money, I might do something, but when it's done, it's going to serve me for the next 30 years. That's how long the note is, unless I sell this place. I'm not doing something temporary. I'm not doing a duct tape. Excuse me. So now when I make an investment in an idea to improve something, and I throw some money at it, I'm going to get the benefits long term. And by the way, in about a month or two, this house with garage, with property, and with all the benefits that I'm talking to you about is actually going to be the cheapest living I've done since I've turned 18. This house is only going to cost me about $600 plus utilities a month. In a northeast corridor, that is unbelievable. And the difference between what I was paying renting and what I am paying in a mortgage now gives me more financial capability to either address and fix the house, more spendable income. It improves things. It allows me to have more savings. All of these things, because when you rent, you're handing somebody else a lot more money for something you're never going to get back. You have no foundation that where you put effort into something in the way you live, that you get to keep it. And it's a it's difficult. I had to work 5 months, 80-hour weeks to come up with the money to even play, to go look for something. And if you can't come up with the money, you can't even start the game. And it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of work in the first year. But when you come out of it, as with all things, if you put the time, the money, the effort to do something big, you get something big. Now, there's a chance that you can screw up and fail big also, but no risk, no reward. So it all depends on your circumstances, and the best thing that I can kind of talk to you about would be that now that finally I have a base of operations that is mine, and I can tune it to what I want and what I feel is important, was worth the 5 months of 80-hour weeks. It was worth the money and the aggravation with the realtors and the lawyers. It is worth the last year of house rich, cash poor. And by the way, my taxes are already done on February. It was done by the end of January. The house is so cheap that it really doesn't even give me a tax advantage. That's almost a crime, but it's the truth. So I hope that this kind of answers some of your questions. This is why I've been busy. This is why I haven't been posting videos. At some point, I probably need to go back in and because there's been a ton of stuff that has just driven me crazy about what's going on out there. But for right now, I figured I'd keep it on subject, answer your particular question, make this video for you, and say thank you. It's nice that somebody actually listens, and it's nice to be appreciated, and I thank you for that. And anybody else watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.